Hey, what's up, everybody? Marcos Villegas for Fight Up TV, powered by Stagefront VIP. Being joined with Abel Sanchez as we're going to go over the action coming up this weekend in the world of boxing, as well as talk some of the hot trending topics that are happening in the sport. Abel, have a good weekend. How are you doing, my man?
Great weekend. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here with you today.
Yeah,
It's
man.
raining here now. It's raining and it's snowing in Big Bear, but it's raining here where I'm at now.
Hey, that's good noise, right? When you guys get snow?
Yeah. Yes. It's good
Yeah,
for the lake.
it's yeah, good. That's right, man. I remember a few years back, the lake was not really looking like a lake.
It was down. It was very low, unfortunately. But right now, I think it's about 4 or 5 feet low. So that's
Yeah.
good.
Okay. You know what? I still haven't been snowboarding over there in Big Bear when it's heavy natural snow. So,
It's beautiful up there, man.
yeah, I bet, man. I just can't do the curvy roads. Every time I went up there to see you guys train, I'd always have to take a bunch of Dramamine so I wouldn't get sick.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I get bad motion sickness. It sucks.
Wow.
I know.
Oh, lucky for me, I don't get that.
Well, Abel, man, this weekend, Jaime Munguia is taking on John Ryder. John Ryder's last fight, I believe, last big fight was against Canelo Alvarez. He had a stay busy interim fight, I believe, since then. But this fight at 168 in Arizona, in Phoenix, Jaime Munguia's last fight was against Sergey Derevyanchenko. A lot of people are labeling it potential fight of the year. And given, Munguia's style that, he likes to fight. And John Ryder is a guy that he likes to fight too. I don't know if it's great for them career-wise, like over the long run, to have all these wars. But, when you look at it, Abel, when we look at the fight and break it down category by category, just overall, what are your impressions of the fight, and who should the public or the betting public be siding with in this one?
It's a tough fight for both guys. Ryder is durable. He proved that against Canelo. But I think Munguia will have the upper hand just because of his tenacity and his size. He's going to be a little bigger guy. And I think he's got a little more power than Ryder. So he's going to be able to break him down and maybe stop him late, if not maybe a 4 or 5 point decision.
Yeah, I think it's going to go all 12 rounds. Just if Ryder was able to go 12 rounds with Canelo with a broken nose, like you mentioned, he's a tough dude. He's a durable guy, and I don't know. Do you think that Munguia is a bigger puncher than Canelo?
Not so much a bigger puncher.
Right?
They're similar punchers, but
Yeah.
the difference is that when you fight a Canelo, you get up for a fight. You train a little bit different. You prepare a little bit different mentally and physically, and maybe it won't be the same with a name like Munguia, who is not, he saw his fight against Derevyanchenko, and maybe he doesn't see him as a tough task as he did with Canelo fight.
Yeah, that's why I don't think he's gonna. I don't know. Maybe the training with Freddie's gonna improve Jaime.
Almost definitely.
Where he's able to put more punches together and he gets a stoppage that way. But I don't see him. I know maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see him stopping John Ryder, to be honest. Yeah, in the fight now, like you mentioned, he's younger, he's bigger. I think he throws more volume than Ryder, and I think those things give him the edge in the fight.
Yeah, I think Munguia will fight a different fight that Canelo fought. Canelo didn't fight the kind of fight that we generally see him fight. Whether the pressures of fighting at home or the responsibilities of fighting at home, he wasn't the same. I don't think anyway. I don't think he was the same guy as we've seen him against, say, Plant or some of the other fellas that he's fought lately. And Munguia, not only is he a volume puncher, but he's willing to take a couple to land 3 or 4. So I think that'll wear Ryder down. And if, like I said, if he stops him late. If not, then it's a 4 or 5 point decision for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of things riding on this fight for Jaime. People talk about a potential fight with Canelo if he looks spectacular, even though he says, like, no, I don't want to. I'm not comparing myself to Canelo to see if I could stop this guy. Talking to Jaime last week, he does want to stop Ryder. Like, hey, I'm training for 12 rounds, but if you ask me if I want to stop him, yeah, of course I want to stop this guy. Not because to say like, oh, I stopped him and Canelo didn't. It's because that's the type of guy I am. I want to stop this guy.
Well, I think I've said in the past that I think he needed a couple fights or at least one fight with
Yeah,
Freddie
with Freddie.
under
Yeah.
Freddie's tutelage, and not only Freddie, but the gym and the guys that he's sparring with. He's got some great sparring in that gym right now. 4 or 5 guys in his weight division and bigger that are, I'm sure, giving him a lot of rounds. And having Freddie in the corner, having that knowledge in the corner is going to make a big difference, in my opinion, for his future. Not only this fight, but his future.
Yeah, you know, when you go down in the categories, and I have like a category board that I'm looking up right now, like you got to give a lot of these nods over to Ryder. I mean, excuse me, to Munguia. Like I don't know if we could give something to Ryder coming into this fight. What attribute that he has over Munguia? What would you give him, Abel? Like it's hard for me to
I
think off the
think
top of my head. I think maybe grit.
I think a couple things. Yeah, toughness
Yeah.
is one of them, being great. But the other one, I think, and he's not willing to take a shot as to get a shot in as Munguia is, and if Ryder's able to land some shots and gets a cut in the fight, gets a swollen eye in the fight, then it becomes a different situation. Munguia is willing to take a shot to land a couple, and I don't think Ryder is as willing to. So he's a little more defensive minded than I think Munguia would be in the fight.
Okay, so we got tough. I don't know. Could that even be? I guess yeah. Toughness, grit, heart.
Yeah,
Munguia has
he's got a
heart
lot of
though.
heart.
Munguia has a lot of heart though.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, yes, but I think Munguia's got the more tools. So by having the more tools, the other guy's going to have to be gritty and it's going to have to be tough and it's going to have to be durable and it's going to have to be willing to find his spots. And I think that Ryder does that.
Yeah, he has to push him back, right? Like if you're a coach, like crafting a game plan for Ryder, you got to get your respect right away, right? And push Munguia back.
Not so much push him back, but just
Yeah.
have control of the rounds. In other words, be first to either feint or be first to take a step, be first to do something, and don't allow Munguia to get into a rhythm. Don't allow Munguia to be the boss in there. He probably will be, but if he's offset with some feints and some movement and some steps and stuff like that and different angles, then I think it'll help Ryder.
Can he do it?
He's going to have to. He's going to have to, or it's going to be a tough night for him because Munguia is going to land the shots. He is going to land a shot. He's longer, taller, bigger. I'm not going to say stronger, but just a bigger specimen. So he's going to have to find a way to not allow Munguia to muscle him and to bully him.
Yeah, you know, looking over at Munguia's fights, you know, I think the biggest thing is, and you mentioned it, Abel, that he's willing to take shots to give shots. And I want to say people have always brought up his defensive capabilities not being much. You would imagine
liabilities, you mean?
Yeah, liabilities. Yes. Liable. Yeah, he has a lot of defensive liabilities. Excuse me. Yeah, where he just gets hit too much in the fight. With that being said, you know, how much can you improve in a span of like 2 months, like with the new trainer?
With this particular trainer,
Yeah,
he's going to improve a lot.
yeah.
He's going to improve a lot because it's not just going to be offense. It's going to be responsible defense, not defensive like Pernell Whitaker, let's just say, but he's going to be a responsible defensive fighter by being very offensive. Freddie's style is that way. He's gonna have you throw a lot of shots and a lot of different shots and a lot of different combinations, but at the same time being in a position to be able to slip a couple and not get caught with as many as he's getting caught in the past.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like you mentioned, it usually, and I think we've talked about it before. Usually, it takes what 3-4 fights to really like get a rhythm, like a mesh with a fighter and a trainer.
I'd say a couple fights, but
Yeah, right.
the difference in this situation, I think, is that Munguia is a young, willing to learn, not an old veteran that is set in his own ways. Even though he's got a lot of fights on his record, he's still a young man. And with the guys that Freddie has got in the gym, not only Freddie's guys, but Marvin's guys, he's going to get a lot of different looks. And by getting those looks, he's going to have to improve in the gym. In the past, as the history of the Mexican fighter, I think Chavez was the first one that we saw do this, is they take almost the same guys to a training camp that they use for everybody. I mean, left-handed, right-handed, tall, fat, skinny. They take the same guys. They have this group that they always spar with. And I think what that does is that limits, for the guys that are not as talented as Chavez was, as born to fight as Chavez was, for the other guys, You need the variation in the gym. You need that different looks from different fighters, not the same sparring all the time. Chavez just needed to get in shape. Munguia doesn't only need to get in shape, he needs to learn his craft. And I think with Freddie and with the guys that Freddie has in the gym, I think that we get those looks that where he's going to have to learn his craft or he's going to be getting hit. And I don't think he's the kind of guy that in the gym anyway, that's just going to want to get beat up.
Mm. Yeah. Well, have you been in the situation with fighter where you work on something for like, I don't want to say short amount of time, but like say for instance, like this situation, I think Munguia has been with Freddie for like 2 months now. So have you ever gotten in a situation, Abel, when you've been with the fighter for like 2 months, it's brand new, you work on stuff, you get to fight night in the ring and they don't do anything that you practice in the gym. Like they just go back to like their old selves.
No, I don't think I've ever been in that situation, but I've been in a situation where my fighter did exactly what we were working on because he was
Well, that's
like a
great.
student.
That's the
Yeah,
ideal situation.
and that's a young man named Paul Vaden. I took him
Yeah.
over when he had 9 fights, and I think 1 knockout, and then we went on a run of 10 or some knockouts like that, because of the different approach to the fight. I think that's what Freddie brings. The knowledge that Freddie brings in is he brings a different approach to each round into the fight, where I think in the past Munguia has gone in just to fight, just to throw punches and see who's a tougher guy in there because he never really, in my opinion anyway, never really had a set plan of what he wanted to do from round 1 to round 2 to round 3 to round 4. And I think with Freddie, he's going to get at least advice on that subject. Whether he follows it or not, we'll see Saturday night.
Overall, what are you expecting from Munguia, Abel? With Freddie, like, I don't know. I don't expect too drastic of improvements. I do want to see like, hey, tighter guard, not as risky with some of the punches that he throws, where he gets hit with shots he shouldn't be getting. I don't want to say I have low expectations, but like I don't want to shoot for the stars because he hasn't had a lot of fights with Freddie yet. So it's like in 2 months, in 2 months he's gonna make some minor improvements. Like the full improvement package is not going to be there till maybe like a year from now if he gets that much time with Freddie.
It won't take that long. It'll take a couple fights, but
Yeah.
If he's successful with the plan at the beginning, he will follow it. He will continue to follow it. If it gets a little difficult for him to follow the plan, we may see that guy that has the defensive liabilities, but is a tough guy. And I don't think Ryder is a better fighter than Derevchenko. So he's tough, but he's not a more skilled fighter than Derevchenko. And I think Munguia did to Derevchenko what he did to Derevchenko, he can do to Ryder in an easier fashion.
It's just popped in my head, like physically speaking, they're kind of around the same size, I think, Derevchenko and John Ryder. I didn't even think about that in terms of the height,
No,
the stockiness.
I think Sergey's a little shorter.
It might
Sergey,
maybe like an inch or
Ryder's a
something,
little bit
right?
taller.
Yeah,
Yeah, an inch and a
yeah,
half taller.
not,
Yeah.
but like
But
pretty fairly close. I think stature wise,
yes.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but the difference in skill is
Yeah,
tremendous.
yeah. Derevchenko's a technician.
Yeah, and both guys are at the point now in their career, Derevchenko and Ryder, or Derevchenko when he fought Munguia, that they're not young. They're seasoned veterans where they've had the tough fights and they've had their losses and they've had the setbacks. So it's not like Munguia's fighting a fresh guy. He's fighting a guy that's at the same stage as that Derevchenko was.
So you're picking Munguia 12 rounds or stoppage? How do you see it? Or do you pick Ryder with the upset?
Late.
It's late, yeah.
If it's a stoppage, it's late. I don't think it's an upset. I think that Munguia has the toughness and the volume of punches to hopefully incorporate some of Freddie's teachings and throw combinations in there that Ryder won't be able to avoid. And either, like I said, he gets stopped late, or the corner stops it, or it's a 4 or 5 point decision.
I think it'll go 12 rounds. I think it'll be an exciting fight. I think at some point, both of them are going to bite down and exchange with each other. And I'm going to really be looking to see how Ryder takes the punches from Munguia. I think if he feels comfortable where he feels he can take the punches, he's going to try to go ahead and press Munguia back and work more on the inside. But if not, we might see a fight where it's just Munguia just pressing, cutting the ring off. And yeah, maybe getting a decision by like you mentioned, 4 or 5 points.
Yeah. I think it's a great fight. Fight of the year candidate, I don't know. We still have a lot of months to go in
Yeah, we
this
have a
year.
lot of the year
But
left.
yeah, and there's a lot of great fights coming up.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a tough fight for both guys. It's a tougher fight for Ryder. I just hope for Munguia that he doesn't start to think too much. In other words, when you get with a new coach, you want to please him, you want to do all the things and if he starts thinking too much, then he may get hit because he starts trying to do the things that they're trying to implement in his style. If he just goes out and is natural with his shots and natural with the things he's doing, then I think he has a good time. I think he has not an easy fight, but a fight that is needed at this time in his career, going with Freddie for the first time.
Does that happen a lot? The fighters overthinking with the new trainers?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You
Yeah.
want to please the fighter go in and he's trying to do everything so perfect, like you practiced in the gym, and he's not doing the things that come natural to him. And then what happens is you're in there, and it's that split second that you're thinking that you get caught with a good jab or a good right hand, and because you were trying to put it together in your head.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Oh, that's interesting. I guess we'll see what happens, but I think overall this is a good thing for Jaime to be paired up with Freddie. If he goes into a Canelo fight in May, who knows? And this is the other topic I wanted to speak about you with is news reports, rumors, whatever you call it, saying that Canelo's likely opponent is going to be Jamal Charlo in May.
Is that what I said? Is that what I said?
Did you say that?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, you did. You did. Yeah.
Yes,
No, but you
yes.
also mentioned, I think, either two scenarios: David fighting Jamal, or Canelo fighting Jamal and David fighting somebody else to set up a fight.
Morale.
With Morale. That's a tough one for David.
And the winners fight. It's a Super Bowl in September.
I don't think what's in it for David to fight Morel. Honestly, like that fight does nothing for him.
Who can David fight that will propel him to that fight in September?
I would say Munguia. Call out Munguia after this fight.
Yeah, that's not a bad fight.
If he wins, or the winner, excuse me, sorry. The winner of Munguia, right? We can't write Ryder off. Yeah.
No, of course not. No. If he beats Ryder, then call out Munguia. But I don't think that that's a good fight. I'd rather see him fight the other guy. What is Morale?
Yeah,
I'd rather see him fight Morale. David fight Morale. I think that just like when Floyd got Canelo early in his career, inexperienced at 22, 23 years old, 21 years old, whatever he was.
Yeah.
I think that that's the case with Morale and David. He gets him, even though he's got a great amateur background. Amateurs are one thing, the pros are a different thing. David's a different animal than the guys he's been fighting. So I think that he gets him at a point where Morale really is not that seasoned fighter yet as a pro. And I think he does good with him. I wouldn't want to see him fight Munguia. I think that's more of a tactical fight for me. I think, even though
David and Munguia, really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that
tactical from who?
Have too much respect for him. I think that they would have too much respect for each other. I think that they're both big guys. I think there'd be a jabbing contest and nothing that would make for an exciting fight.
I know at some point those two are going to have to throw down.
Oh no, of course, but I don't want to see it next.
Yeah.
If the winner of the September fight, whoever one of those two guys are, then a Munguia fight I think is a good May fight for the next year. Yeah,
I like I mentioned, I'm not the manager. Who's Samson's David's promoter. I think the dad is the manager, Jose Senior of David. If I had my manager hat on, I would be like, what does Morel do for us, guys? Like, it's a fight where maybe we don't sell out the arena, and it might be a slow tactical fight. Let's try to position ourselves for Munguia or for Berlanga. At least that way,
that's another guy.
He looks spectacular, and it really builds up the hype for him.
Who is Berlanga supposed to fight?
He has a fight actually coming up in February. I don't know against who. I believe here. I'll pull up his box rec to see what the.
We're assuming that Charlo's not going to beat Canelo too. You can't assume that Charlo is.
Well, that's the other thing. Does that fight sell, Abel, because of what happened with the smaller Charlo?
Probably not. But Canelo's already got a built-in. What are you gonna say? A built-in fan base and a built-in dollar amount. So to sell, not to sell, he just needs to stay busy in May and prepare for a September fight against whomever it is.
Yeah, but that's the biggest thing that I hear from people online is like, look, David's ready, and you're choosing to go with this guy when the David fight is a bigger fight than a Charlo than anybody else that he could fight against. Like why are you doing this? Like that's the main thing I hear from fans, and then I hear from fans like, this is why we criticize you, is because of potential choices like this. When you look at it economically, David's the bigger fight. When you look at it from a sports perspective, like David's seen as the equal of Canelo, or at least closer than anybody else. And it's like, why would you not go with this guy?
There's two reasons.
Yeah.
One, I don't think one fight is not going to make David suited for that May fight. That one fight this last fight that he had, that's one
He's had
fight.
two.
He's gotta
Caleb and Demetrius.
Did he do the Caleb what Canelo did to Caleb?
No, but
the other
beat
reason,
him up pretty freaking bad in that fight, Abel.
The other reason. Yeah, people want to see a knockout. People want to see dominance. That's what people want to see.
David was pretty dominant in that fight.
This is not. If David would have done to him what he done to
Andrade.
Vergil, what was that young man's name? Gavril. Like he did that in the last round. If he would have done that to Caleb, now we're talking.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that. Okay. Yeah, he beat him, but he just beat him.
Yeah.
Canelo didn't just beat him. Canelo
knocked him out.
Destroyed him. Not only knocked him out, no, it's not that he got a knockout. It's how he knocked him out. Yeah. He controlled him. He beat him up. He backed him up. He made him quit mentally. That's what makes David ready, in my opinion. The other reason is that it's a September fight. A September fight, it means a lot more to the Mexican fan base than a May fight. September fight is Day of Independence. It just means more. And I think for that show, he needs to have a guy, if David can do it again in May or sometime in this next couple months, in September, needs to have a big guy like that. If he fights him in May, who does he fight in September?
Charlo.
September is
or Munguia.
David's bigger than Charlo.
Yeah, I know.
David's bigger than Charlo. Now, a Munguia fight in September. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, but let's see with all this promoter beef that's happening, if that even happens.
But the Day of Independence, Mexican Independence, is much, much more important than Cinco de Mayo.
Okay, I could see that reasoning, I guess. Like, yeah, the bigger of the two dates is September. That is true. And if that is the biggest fight for him. But with Germán,
I don't want to see him. But I don't want to see him idle until September either.
No, of course not. And I think there's a lot of pressure to get him back in the ring, given this Amazon thing with PBC. Yeah, they want to make a big splash, big impression with them. You know, speaking of promoter drama, what do you make of all this back and forth with Ryan and Oscar? No Rolly fight. He says fight's close with Jose Ramirez, and Ryan goes, I don't want to fight Jose Ramirez. You know, no Devin. Yeah, it's a mess at this point.
Well, unfortunately, Oscar has kind of put himself in this position by lowering himself down to Ryan Garcia. Oscar's the promoter, and they signed a contract to do hopefully what the promoter thinks is the best interest, not only of the business but of the fighter. Now, when the fighter starts calling people out and starts saying, I want to fight this guy, I want to fight that guy, it's like what David was, I think I talked about this before with David Benavidez. He was talking so much about Canelo that all these guys are saying, they don't want to deal with him. He's a headache. So when you're a headache, you're less likely to get the things done that you need to get done for your next fight or for 3 or 4 fights down the road. There used to be a promoter, friend of mine, long time ago, that had a board that had 3 different sections: guys that I want to fight, guys that I want to promote that are under contract, guys that are a problem, and the 3rd section was guys that I don't even want to talk about. So I think that Ryan's put himself in that position where it's difficult to deal for him, to make fights for him. And the more he calls people out, the more people are going to say, no, let Ryan wait. Let Ryan wait. It's not that important. And he has a little pop in his punch, so it's not like, they're fighting a bum. They're fighting a guy that, he's not the most talented, but he's got a little pop in his hand. He's got good hand speed. and he's got a good following. But he's got to, in my opinion, tone it down, allow the business of boxing and the business to be involved, of course, but to play out and set up the fights that are in the near future. Because is he going to sit out the whole year because nobody wants to fight him? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I tweeted Oscar because he mentioned Jose Ramirez, and I tweeted him like, well, what happened to Rolly? And he told me he priced himself out. And then Rolly did this live video saying like, hey, you guys wasted my time. Oscar, you wasted my time. Ryan, you wasted my time. DAZN, you wasted my time. DAZN, you tried to make a fight behind my back with Pitbull Cruz and Ryan. Now I'm gonna go for Pitbull Cruz. But like Pitbull Cruz is a 135 pounder. Rolly's like a 140 pounder, and like Pitbull's a small guy. I'm like, come on,
Well, he's gonna get a fight. He's gonna get a fight in his mind. He deserves. He's gonna get paid what he thinks he's gonna get paid.
Well, that's the thing. All these guys feel they deserve to make $10 million paydays and stuff.
Right. Well, if Ryan is getting the kind of money and he's talking about how much money he's getting, these guys are gonna want that kind of money too. That's why I say sometimes you just gotta pipe it down and allow the promoter to do his thing behind the scenes and keep your mouth shut, put the money in the bank, and not be telling all these people how much money you're making, because they're gonna want to mint too. And they're pricing themselves out. There's a reason. Ryan, all Ryan can do is talk about how much money he's making. All Ryan can do is talk about how much money he wants. So if I got a fighter who's going to fight him, or you're using me to make that money, then I want to be paid too.
So
that's why I say he's got to pipe it down and let Oscar do his thing.
Yeah, and let Oscar do his thing. Yeah, but like, look, okay. First, it started with Devin. There's no Devin fight now, unless they're redoing the talks, which would be great. We're gonna see Oscar this week. I'm gonna ask him that. But there's 4 guys there. There's Devin. Teo said on the flip that he wasn't getting enough. That he wanted 30% pay-per-view, and they offered him 28.5, and he was like, no, like I should get 30%. And then when I talked to him, he told me he felt very disrespected because he's the one that's accomplished everything. He's the one that's a lineal champ. He's the champ at 140, and Ryan isn't a champ. Like, he's like, what has Ryan done? He hasn't done anything. Yeah, he has a name, but like, I'm the guy at 140. Like, they're treating me like this. At least show me some respect. Give me 30% at the very least of this cut.
Right. Well, I remember when Tom Loeffler was doing Gennady along the way with all those wins. Tom Loeffler was very open to discussions. He would sit down with Gennady and with his advisors and lay out what, if we don't take the fight, if we don't make this kind of deal, what happens next? Do we sit on the sidelines or we continue to argue? So that's why Tom was able to do all those fights, and everybody made money. The opponent made money. The opponents were happy to fight him. Gennady made a ton of money. So I think that you have to allow the promoter, because the promoter really is the one that has the knowledge of where all this is distributed and where it comes from and how much is available. When you have a Ryan, let's just say that he makes 10 million. I don't know how much he's making, but let's just say that he makes 10 million and there's only 15 available, and the other guy wants 5 or wants 4. What's left for anybody else? Is there an undercard? Is there a promoter that's going to make any money? So I think you have to allow the promoters to do their job. That is what you hired them for. And of course, you're in on the negotiations once they're talked about. You're not necessarily in the room, but you're sitting down with your advisors and your promoter, and you hash it out. And this is what I want, and can you go get it for me? Instead of talking so much on the media. I think that social media is such a detriment to our sport, because these guys are all talking about the millions that they're making, and they're pricing themselves out of good fights. Pricing the opponents out of good fights.
Yeah. Well, this is what I want to know. Like, how much are they pricing themselves out by? Like, are they like coming in with like ridiculous like amounts, or like, is it a matter of like a few $100,000? Because if it's a matter of like a few $100,000, I'm like, come on, bro, just cough up the few $100,000, make the fight.
Okay, your point a little while ago about Teo 28.5 or 30.
Yeah, and 30. Yeah.
You mean the other, when the other side says, no, this is what we're going to do, instead of the promoter going in and finding a way to make it work.
Yeah.
fighters always think that they're worth more than they're worth,
Mm.
because that those money sometimes are not out there. So you allow the promoter to work it in a way that makes sense for everybody. 1.5%, really, is that really gonna make a difference? It's not gonna make a difference, and you make the fight. So is it that I make this analogy sometimes? I have a truck out there that I want to sell. I want to. It cost me 100, but I want to sell it for $1 million. How bad do I want to sell it? You know, for Ryan, if he really wants to fight, what's 1.5 for his career?
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Mm.
So if Teo's asking for 1.5 more, Ryan, in other words, he put it in his court. I want 1.5 more. What if Ryan comes back and says, okay, we'll give you the 30? Then if Teo backs out, then it's not Ryan, it's Teo that backed out, right?
Yeah.
So 1.5%. So when you're asking that question, is 1.5% is going to make or break a fight? Yeah, because a fighter is the one doing the negotiating instead of allowing the knowledgeable people, which is the promoters and the lawyers, to hash it out, make it work.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. You know, at this point, there's no fights for him that are like scheduled, that are official.
For 1.5%.
That's what. Well, that's the other thing. That's what Teo says. You know, Oscar
Okay,
said. But look, wait. Oscar says he never gave Teo an offer. Like he never got a chance to give Teo an offer.
Okay,
And
so,
Teo says Teo implied that all this came from Ryan's team, but you don't ever know either. Like Oscar says, like, look, well, I never presented a deal to you. Like, what is he talking about? The deal was never presented to him.
If 30% is a doable fight, and he already said 30%,
yeah,
why aren't they talking more about it? Instead of Oscar and anybody saying no, they didn't talk to me, go back at him.
Well, well, Teo has this fight. Yeah, February 8th against Jermaine Ortiz. That's coming up in Vegas. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to get a fight in before, doing all that. I don't. You never know, man. You don't ever know, Abel.
So when would they fight if they did fight? Sometime in August? Sometime in July?
I would think June, because I know that was the other date talked about for Teo was June, but against Subriel Matias, he mentioned that they did give Subriel an offer, but Subriel said not yet because he had a hand injury and that they had to go ahead and wait to see how he healed up from that injury before they go into a fight. But Teo and his dad are confident that they beat Subriel.
Okay, well, at least Subriel said that it's because of a hand injury. He didn't say, well, no, instead of 4 million, I want 4.1. It's a hand injury. I mean, that's the little pennies that you're talking about instead of making the fights. That's why I think in the past, when we had those great fighters in the 80s and 90s, they weren't talking about how much you're making more than I'm making, or how much more publicity you're getting than I'm getting, how many more press conferences you're going to do than me. It was a fighter fighting a fighter. The monies were fair monies, fair to them at the time, and they made fights. Today, we don't have fights, not because they don't want to fight each other, because I do think they want to fight each other. We're not having fights because we're penny pinching. We're fighting over nickels, which is crazy, instead of moving your career along. What would a win against Teo do for Ryan Garcia? If Ryan Garcia thinks he can beat him,
it would do
unbelievable. That 1.5%, if that's the case, that 1.5%, it's nothing. That's worth 50%.
Yeah.
In the future,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So we got Arnold Barboza, we got Jose Ramirez, we got Devin, we got Teo, we got Ryan and Rolly, all in the same division, all in their prime, and no fights.
All good fights.
Yeah, but no fights yet between them. Yeah.
No, I know, but all good fighters.
I know.
Barboza's a good fight. Barboza would be a great fight for anybody. He may not be the most flashy guy, but he's a solid fighter.
It's just like, come on, like, what's going on here? How like the fights are there to be made? Like, come on.
Yes.
Come on,
penny pinching. It's nickels.
Then they're gonna have to go take it to Saudi. Maybe they're gonna have to go take it to Saudi. That's the only place where they're gonna get overpaid to go over there and fight. That's the only place available.
Yeah, how many fights can they do that over there? How long are they gonna? They're gonna have to stand in line. The Saudis are gonna want to see the heavyweights. These other guys are not something that's I don't think anyway. That's something that they would be clamoring for. I think that I
think for the right fights, because the guy Turki Al Sheikh, the one that's the head of the tourism board, he's a huge boxing fan. He's a huge boxing fan, but I think, and it's rightfully so, he wants the best fights over there. If you're paying that premium price, you want the best fights. So he talked about Haney and Gervonta having it over there. Gervonta tweeted something funny like, before I even talk to you guys, I need you to send me 2 Ferraris because you guys pissed me off. I don't know what it got him angry over, but I would think, maybe Ryan and Teo. Who else? Ryan and Devin. Anything with Devin, I think makes sense for them because Devin's also a Muslim, and they like highlighting the Muslim fighters over there.
So if they make those fights, if they agree to fight, and then they're able to sell it over there, at 1.5% or 2% or 3%, whatever we're talking about,
nothing. They get paid flat fees over there, fat lump of cash. How much do you want? I think this fight should be like 6 million. Done. Here's your 6 million. How much do you want?
Right.
I've heard that's how it is.
Make the fights.
Pretty much like lump sums. Like, what do you want?
So make
what do
the
you
fights.
want? Okay.
Yeah.
That's why they've been making the fights over there.
You just mentioned 5 or 6 guys in the 140-pound division that it could be a tournament. It could be a great tournament with.
I tweeted at the guy and I told him make a tournament between all those guys because he's the only guy
that's a great tournament.
Honestly, like I know he's gotten a lot of flack because of the whole controversy with Saudi taking sports over there, but like in the last 4 months, he's made all these fights happen that honestly probably would have never gotten done or would have maybe taken a year or 2 to get done.
Correct.
And in these last few months, he's made stuff happen, fights happen that we never thought would happen.
Yeah, we lost the 2 networks that were putting on a lot of great fights, a lot of championship fights. We lost the 2 networks. Now it's the apps. Now it's a different situation. But if somebody comes in with that kind of money and is saying, not asking questions, just getting it done, guys are going to go over there. Absolutely, the guys are going to go over there. And I don't blame them. Not because there's a lot of money, but because there's no questions. In other words, boom, you get paid. It's done. How much you say? Okay, good. Let's do it. I think that's important for fighters to have that peace of mind that things are going to get done that way.
Yeah.
Instead of arguing.
Yeah, but a lot of fans are just voicing their disapproval that, hey, that's so far away for us. We don't get a chance to see the fights. I know that's a big thing with Fury and Usyk. The British media are saying hey, what about the atmosphere there? Because the atmosphere is such a huge part of their fights when there's fights over there in UK.
Like a big soccer game, everybody gets into the fight. Yeah. Well, then come up with more money.
Yeah, who's gonna come up with more money? You can't outcompete a government.
Compete with those guys.
Well, you can't outcompete with the government. It's a government. That's a different stratosphere of money.
So we do what we have to do, and maybe have those new stadiums, the new football stadiums with the TVs all the way around, sell out a stadium and have them watch it on TV like that, and it looks like you're there anyway.
They used to do that back in the day, right? In the 80s, that's closed circuit. Yeah, that's closed circuit.
Yes.
Yeah. We got to get on this money, Abel. We got to come up with something, man. Come on.
That's how I saw Tommy Hearns fight Pipino Cuevas on closed circuit at the Sports Arena in LA.
Get a fighter, get him in Saudi, and let me get involved somehow.
Unfortunately, I'm a little far from that now.
Interesting time to be a cruiserweight now, given Jai Opetaia is considered the number 1 in the division, but Turki Al-Sheikh, the main man in Saudi, said that he wants to see the winner of Bivol Beterbiev fight Jai Opetaia. And if your guy wins a title, I believe that a trip over there might be.
Oh, my guy is the champion, though.
I know. I'm saying there might be a link there.
It puts it in a position. I think that
you might be taking a trip to the Middle East.
Yeah, I think Beterbiev will beat Bivol. Tough fight.
Yeah, let's get into that because Beterbiev, I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it. Beterbiev just whomped on Callum Smith, stopped him in how many rounds was that?
7.
Let me see. Let me just make sure. But no, stopping Callum Smith for the first time in his career, just overall, he was just more complete, better than Callum Smith. The one thing that I was impressed, him being the shorter guy, and with the shorter arms, was able to out jab Callum Smith, who was bigger and longer than him. It's just so good on the mid ranges. Arthur Beterbiev in there. But what were your impressions of his performance against Callum Smith, Abel?
Spectacular. I've always believed that Beterbiev would have been better. I think I said this to you before. Beterbiev got
7 rounds, by the way. 7
Yeah, 7
rounds.
rounds.
Yeah.
Beterbiev, Golovkin, and David Benavidez would have been the toughest fight for Canelo. Beterbiev is an animal. Beterbiev is, and he's got a good corner. He's got a great corner, and that makes such a big difference. I think in a lot of fights. But he's very strong. My guy, this guy cruiserweight that I have, that's going to fight Zurdo, sparred with him when my guy had about 5 or 6 fights. He went to Canada and sparred with him, and he says he's never sparred or fought anybody as strong as Beterbiev. Strong puncher, strong body, just strong, just physically, just a different person. His style is totally different than Bivol's. Bivol's is a very, very talented fighter as far as fundamentals is concerned. As far as everything he does is so precise.
Yeah, you know
good
what's
balance.
It's weird because like Bivol's like your stereotypical like Soviet style fighter. Like if you see the videos, he moves the same way, but like Beterbiev came from that school and he doesn't fight like that.
No, he's a warrior. He's a guy that's going to break you down.
Yeah.
And they both have great amateur records. They both have a lot of wins, very, very few losses, and great schooling. So, but the difference between Beterbiev and Bivol, in my opinion, is Bivol is a Golovkin kind of, Mike Tyson kind of fighter that's going to come and just get you. You know, he's going to hit you wherever he wants to. He's going to hit you, and then you're going to wear it down. And that's what he did to Callum, and that's what he does to a lot of guys. That's why he's 20-0 now with 20 knockouts.
Yeah,
you know, he's not a one punch knockout artist.
No, he's not.
He's a guy that just wears you down and hits you everywhere with everything, and makes you, I'm not gonna say quit, but mentally doubt yourself, where you're getting caught with too many shots, and referee stops it, corner stops it. But I think it'll be a fight for both guys, Bivol and Beterbiev, that is not a fight that they want politically, that they want because of both Russians and
they're already they forget about that, Abel. They're not even saying they're from there, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that hadn't been made. It had been talked about for a lot of those reasons.
But they should take that fight over there because they'd get the biggest payday they could possibly. Oh no, that's not true. The fight's going to be in Saudi. They're going to get paid the most. Yeah,
they're going to get paid.
Yeah,
but it's again, I think it's a close decision because Bivol is very, very talented, or it's a stoppage for Beterbiev just because he wears him down and the corner stops it, or the referee stops it. But it's a close decision if it goes 12 rounds, in my opinion. It could be a split. That's how good both these guys are.
I got my thoughts on that fight, but I did want to mention that it's just, I remember when I was watching the fight against Callum, and I was like, it doesn't even look like Beterbiev is putting full extension on these punches or really winging them, and he's like hurting Callum Smith. And I was just thinking, like, man, like this dude hits that hard where like that punch looked like it was only like at 80%. Like it's just like touch, 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 touch. And he's breaking them down just by like touch punches, like touch, 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 touch. And I was like, man, this guy hits that hard where he breaks someone down over time just by not even full extension, like throwing everything in his punches.
There's 2 guys that are that way in boxing right now. That's Matias and Beterbiev.
Yeah.
Obviously, Beterbiev
he's bigger guy,
fundamentally sound fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a very, has great schooling, has great skills, where Matias is not as sound as Beterbiev, but they both have that kind of power. When we saw Egershoff, we talked about this before, once Matias was able to figure out what Egershoff was doing, it didn't matter where he hit him. Everything that he hit him with moved him. Same thing with Beterbiev. Everything Beterbiev hits you with moves you in a way that, damn, I got to do this for 12 rounds. I got to do this. This is difficult. So yeah, he is that type of fighter that breaks you down and it makes you eventually quit on yourself.
And then the other thought that came in was like, why in the heck, if you were Eddie Reynoso, did you want Canelo to fight this guy? Like, are you serious? Like, why? Like, no, don't stay away from this dude. Like, why would you want to fight this guy?
You mean Beterbiev?
Yeah. Like,
No,
as a trainer, I'm like, why did you want to, like, no, that's the worst idea ever.
Yeah, he mentioned it once or twice.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard it since. And that's smart. Canelo, first of all, Beterbiev is too big. Beterbiev is too strong. It'd be like hitting an oak tree for Canelo. I mean, yes, you're going to hit him, but guess what? He's going to hit you back. And you're going to expose yourself when you're wide with your shots. And he's so precise with his, he's going to hit you. And no, that's not a good fight for Canelo. It would be like Canelo and Crawford.
Mm. I don't know, Abel. A lot of people are picking Crawford over Canelo.
Yeah, well,
A lot of
okay.
people say
Well,
like,
make
"Hey,
some
he's
money.
too good. He's too make some." But when it comes to Beterbiev and Bivol, I don't know. I kind of worry about how long Bivol is going to be able to be on his toes and move around before that pressure starts being a real factor in the fight.
He's a very talented fighter. It's going to take Beterbiev the better part of half or even 2/3 of the fight to finally, it'll be real close up to that point, and then Beterbiev will go away with it just only because he's wore him down. But he's going to have to touch him though. He can't allow Bivol just to work and put rounds in the bank. He's going to have to touch him like with Callum. I think that at the beginning, Callum was having a little success.
I gave him like a
And
round. Like
okay,
honestly, yeah, I give him like
you
one round.
you cannot give Bivol that kind of allow him to have that kind of success. You're going to have to keep it one for you, one for him, one for you, one for him, two for him, one for you. So it gets to the second or the last third of the fight, and Beterbiev will have worn him down, and his strength will have depleted some of the zip, let's just say, from Bivol's punches and his movement, and he'll be able to cruise to a decision, close decision, but cruise to it, or stop him late only because of the tenacity that he will have. He's going to be in great shape because he always is. Mark Ramsey and
Iceman, John Scully.
John Scully, but also the Cup man, my friend Amber, Russ.
Russ.
Yeah, they're very experienced. So how Beterbiev fights a fight, he'll have a game plan. And you don't see that much about Bivol's coach. We haven't been able to see.
I don't think we can't understand him.
Well, no, we haven't been able to see him work with other guys to see what kind of plan. Bivol, listen, Andre Ward was a great talent. Terry Norris was a great talent. Some of these guys, Ray Leonard was a great talent. Some of these guys, you can just put them on autopilot and they go on. There's other guys that you have to do work with. We've never seen Bivol's coach work with somebody where he has to actually work. We have to come up with ideas in the corner or change a plan mid fight. So on the Beterbiev side, you have guys that are extremely experienced at this level. So that could make a difference also.
The thing that I think about that fight is I could see, Bivol doing his, I don't know, maybe the speed. The speed is the biggest factor, and he catches Beterbiev with a punch he doesn't see, and he puts him down. And that changes the whole dynamic of the fight where Beterbiev is like, oh, wow, okay, this guy can actually crack. Yeah, I'm going to still come forward.
Did he put Canelo down?
No, he didn't. But
okay.
I feel like there was a few times that like Canelo was really like stunned, like maybe about to go.
I think Beterbiev has as good a chin as Canelo and as Golovkin. And I think that in order to hit him, see, that's the difference. When you fight a Canelo, before fights a Canelo, you can throw your shots with no expectation of getting a bomb coming at you, a bazooka coming back at you. Yeah, he's maybe throw a punch, but it's not going to be the kind of punch that you're leery about. When you fight a Beterbiev, you throw your shots, you're exposing yourself. You're allowing opportunities for that other guy. And when that other guy throws, he throws bombs. He throws, and one of those shots could. So I think that the tactics are going to be different for Bivol when he fought Canelo against Beterbiev, and because he cannot give him the opportunities he gave to Canelo, or Canelo cannot capitalize. But Beterbiev maybe will capitalize with a lot more firepower.
He's gonna have to fight such a disciplined fight. Is Dimitri in that fight? He's gonna. Yes. As close to as like the best performance he's ever done in his career. He's going to have to do what he does. But when Beterbiev gets too close, he's going to have to tie him up and disrupt him, but that's the thing. Like,
is that his style though? Is that his style? Is that
it's not, but he's going to have to learn. Okay. Like when Beterbiev is there, grab this fool, and push him off.
I go back to the coaching in the corners. Yeah. When we had Gennady and guys, journalists would say to me, well, that guy's got a great right hand. He's got a great body. What are you going to do to change Gennady to suit? I said, we're going to change nothing. We're going to be 100% Gennady. And if we can't beat him with 100% Gennady, then we can't beat him. Bivol can't go back to the drawing board, or his coach can't go back to the drawing board and try to suit his style to offset Beterbiev. He's got to do what he does best, of course, with restraints, because he's got a different animal in front of him. But he's got to do what he does best without trying to change things dramatically. If he does, then I think it's an easier fight for Beterbiev. Don't be
Oh,
somebody
if
you're
he
not.
changed, yeah, somebody. Okay.
Yeah.
So then if he comes in as the Bivol we seen him on his toes, 3-4 punches, moving around, then his condition, he has to take his conditioning to a different level then.
Yeah. How long can he keep this guy off of him?
Yeah.
Yeah. If he fights like he fought Canelo with a little more restraint of just not okay, he was throwing 5-6 punches against Canelo and landing shots and keeping Canelo on his back foot. If he can come in and just be a little more contained, instead of 4 or 5 to 2 or 3, get to a different spot, give me a jab, keep him off, offset him. Then how long can he go doing that? That's the question. Before Beterbiev wears him down, not only with punches, but with presence. Because guys like that, like with Gennady, the reason a lot of guys wore down is because the presence, he's right in front of you and you're hitting him with everything and he's not going anywhere. So in your mind, you kind of, it's a different situation for you that you've had in the past. So his presence will make a big difference. If Beterbiev can stay on top of him, not necessarily close body shots or anything like that, but just on top of him and make him think and make him have to react, then Bivol will be the one wearing out first before Beterbiev does.
Yeah, I don't know. I know they're different fighters, and Canelo and Bivol are different, vastly different style. But I think of it like, all right, the first Canelo fight with Triple G, and I haven't asked Canelo like how worried were you about Gennady's power, but you would think because of the game plan he chose to use in that fight that it was a concern of his, because he chose to move in that fight, and it was a close fight. And then the second one, he chose like, I'm gonna step to this guy. I could take his punch. And I'm thinking like, okay, what if?
Chose that though?
Yeah.
You know why he chose that?
He got
He chose
criticized.
that because because my guy wanted to box.
Yeah.
My guy wasn't fighting the same fight that he fought the first time.
Yeah.
My guy wanted to box because why? Because he was reading that he didn't know how to box. This man had 350 amateur fights. Are you kidding me? He's a beautiful boxer, but he didn't have to box because of his other talents. He didn't have to be a Pernell Whitaker or a Crawford that boxes and then lands his shots. He was able to dominate. So when my guy didn't do what he used to do before, what he did in prior fights, I should say, it allows an opening for Canelo, the opponent, to do his thing. Hey, this guy's not coming at me no more. He's throwing a beautiful jab. He landed so many jabs. He landed so many great shots from the outside and never really pressed. So that allows the other guy to do his thing. So Canelo fought a different fight because we allowed him to fight a different fight. If my guy goes forward and fights the fight that he fought the first time, Canelo doesn't go toe-to-toe with him. The same thing with Bivol. Bivol is not going to become Beterbiev, and Beterbiev is not going to become Bivol. They got to do what they do best. If they don't, then they're going to lose.
Yeah, because I was just thinking like, okay, what if Bivol is like, I got to stop this guy. Like, I cannot allow him to cross this imaginary line right here. Like, he does not step 1 foot more than this line that I'm developing in my mind, and I have to push this guy back. Yeah, I could use my speed and my combinations, but this guy is not moving any inch more than this imaginary line that I have in my mind, like right here.
Yeah, Bivol and Beterbiev had over 350 amateur fights each. I think Beterbiev had close to 400. They've faced guys like this. They have faced Beterbievs in the past, albeit 3 rounds, but they have faced guys like that more than once. So they have an idea how they want to fight. They have an idea what they want to do that was successful before. The one thing, in my opinion, again, that they cannot do is be somebody they're not. Dance with the girl that you took there, man. Dance with the stuff that got you to where you are right now. Don't change it. Don't change it, because if you change it, you're not 100%. He can box him. He can jab him. He's got a great jab. He's got nice, crisp right hand. But if he keeps him on the end of his jab and changes angles on him, then it may help him to confuse Beterbiev a little bit. Beterbiev is going to want to come forward and just rush and do the things he does. He's patient, but he's going to want, against this guy, he's not going to want to allow him to do the things that he does so well. So when he's doing that, Bivol can give him angles. Bivol can take a step one way or another way, take a step back, take a step forward, not allow Beterbiev to get set. In
I'm
my
trying to
opinion,
think.
that's how he beats him.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like in the history of boxing when it's been like a pressure guy like a better BF going against a smaller, quicker guy. The smaller, quicker guy usually wins, don't they?
Who can
Right?
you, Ray
Because
Leonard, Thomas
because
Hearns?
the speed is like the biggest factor. Is like the bigger guy is not used to that speed, and it just kind of flusters them. Like they're just like, what the heck? I'm not used to this.
So would you say that Better Behave is faster than Bivol?
No, 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 no. Bivol's faster. Bivol's definitely
Okay,
like feet,
okay.
fast,
Bivol's the big, and
combination,
Bivol's the
fast. And Bivol's a
Bivol's the
smaller
bigger
guy.
tall.
No, no,
Bivol's weight
smaller
wise.
weight wise, just size wise. Bivol's smaller. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Bivol's smaller than Beterbiev.
it didn't work for Bob Foster.
Hmm.
You know, it works sometimes. It
Yeah.
didn't work for Michael Spinks.
Mhm.
You know,
Manny
it
and all his
works.
fights. I guess it is dependent on how good the guy is, but I don't know that. Now that I think about it, it's like the smaller, faster guy almost always has success, right? Like a lot
Of
of
course,
success against these bigger guys early on.
Kell Brook against Gennady Golovkin.
Yeah.
Kell Brook was the welterweight, faster hands at the beginning.
Mhm.
He's going to catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it works a little bit, but you have to uh, understand who the other side is. You know, in this particular case, Bivol and Beterbiev, he doesn't have a bum in front of him. Bivol,
No,
neither guy has a bum in front of him. They have excellent skills, both guys. Same thing with Crawford and Canelo. The difference for me, that I've said this to you in the past, is that for both of these guys, they have been sparring with guys in their own weight. Their body strength, their physicality inside the ring is with guys their own weight. They're used to that. When we talked about the first Charlo that just fought Canelo, I told you there's a difference in how Charlo trains against guys his weight and Terrence Crawford and all those guys at that weight than Canelo sparring with 175 pounders, heavyweights, Frank Sanchez that he spars with in the gym. There's a difference of consistent sparring with the bigger guys. You become stronger, body strong yourself.
Yeah.
So it's more difficult to move you. Where you say about the little guy and the bigger guy, yeah, at the beginning they'll have some success, but it's like trying to hit an oak tree. You know, it's not going to have any effect. You're swatting at this guy and they're not moving. Why? Because they're used to getting hit by bigger men. They're used to being muscled by bigger men, and you have a guy that's they can't make up strength in 90 days or 2 months that they have for training camp, whatever it is.
No, that's a good point.
As we saw in the first Charlo. The second Charlo may be different against Canelo. Maybe it gives him a tougher time physically. Skill-wise, I think they're both similar. They're both brothers. So I think Canelo still wins, but it's going to be a tougher fight for Canelo than it was for the first kid.
I don't know. I feel like I can make the case for Bivol to win because, you know, he's been at that weight. He's used to those punches, and he's so much faster.
Listen, it's not an upset if he wins. It's not an upset if he wins.
No,
hell no.
Because I feel like I feel like a majority of people, because of what he did to Callum, are now picking Beterbiev to win.
Yeah. Listen, we've talked about a lot of fighters and a lot of fights in the last year or year and a half. We haven't talked about a fight as even as this fight. As even as this fight, we have not talked about. These two guys are, if it's a draw, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, that's how good both of these guys are.
Yeah, I hope we get a second and third fight between them.
That would be something.
Yeah, right. I hope it's competitive like that. But I did have a worry about when I was watching the Callum Smith fight. I did think in my mind, like, man, like, how is Bivol going to handle this pressure? Like, what is he going to do? Like, he's just going to be moving around.
Bivol, like I said, Bivol's face guys like this. Bivol's you can't compare Callum to Smith to
Bivol.
Bivol. Bivol's head and shoulders above him, skill wise. And I think that he will keep his head screwed on more than Callum did when he started to get hit with good shots. You know, I think that even if he gets hit with a good shot, he will keep his head and not lose his composure, as a lot of guys do with Beterbiev. That's why Beterbiev gets knockouts. That's why Beterbiev wears you down, breaks you down, and before you know it, it's because you're trying to compete with him instead of just doing your own thing.
I didn't get a chance to speak to you and discuss this, but Vergil Ortiz only getting one round in a few weeks back, but he got the stoppage. He knocked Frederick Lawson out, and then the name Tim Tsyzu comes up uh, for a potential fight against him. I love that fight. I think that is a great fight. A fight that I think it's a pretty close 50-50 fight. What do you think, Abel?
I think Vergil needs another fight that gives him a little harder work at 154 pounds. I think he needs a fight like, say, a Brandon Adams or somebody like that. Not so much a Charlo, but somebody a Brandon.
I heard maybe Jose Benavidez Jr. at 154.
That's a great fight. That's a great fight because Jose is going to give him all he can handle. He'll beat Jose, but Jose's not going to quit. Jose's going to be in there for the duration, and he's going to give you 100% the whole fight. So that's a great fight. That's a good fight for Vergil. Better fight for Vergil than jumping directly into a Tszyu fight, in my opinion. He just needs that, like I say with Freddie and with Munguia, the duo. I think that moving up to 154, he has to settle down at 154. He doesn't know what he can do. This fight was nothing. They stopped it too soon. Yeah, he caught him with some good shots, but let him settle into his weight. Let him settle into how he's going to prepare and how he's going to come down to that weight. All those things take time, and all those things take practice, and those things only happen with fights.
Yes, if someone were to ask me, even running the fight, in my head, I can't pick a winner between Tim and Vergil. I see it as a extremely close fight, and maybe Vergil is a little bit bigger of the puncher because of his knockout record, but I don't know. That's an extremely tough fight to pick.
We go back to what I keep saying about the difference in the strength as they're coming up in weight. Tim Tsyzu has fought everybody.
It's a natural 154.
It's a natural 54 pounder.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Vergil looked great against Lawson, and has looked great in some of the fights. He's got a lot of knockouts, maybe all of them knockouts. I'm not sure. Is he all?
Yeah, him and Beterbiev are the only ones that are 100% knockout ratio at this point in their career.
But he's fought inferior 147 pounders. How will he settle in to 154? Because remember, now when he goes home after this fight, what does his weight go up to? And how does his weight come down? He had issues at 147 because he didn't do it correctly. He was losing too much. He was just sacrificing himself too much. So he says. So now at 154, how does he approach 154? Does he do the same thing now instead of if he fought at 147 and he went up to say 170? Does he go up to 180 now because he's fighting 154? This is what I'm saying. Settle into his weight. He's gonna have to settle into a routine in a manner of getting to that weight for that fight week. As I was saying, a lot of these guys don't give themselves a chance with the weight issue. For instance, Brandon Rios, back when he was in his prime at lightweight, would look like a skeleton, and even at 140, he looked like a skeleton on the scales. At 147, he looked like a skeleton on the scales. Could you imagine if he gave himself the chance of not sacrificing that much what he could have done? He was a great fighter as it was a champion, but could you imagine how much more he could have done if he had not had those issues?
Or how much more he would have gotten out of himself too, if he would have stayed in shape, because he was notorious for blowing up in weight, after camps.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, correct. He did what he did in spite of himself, he's killing himself to make weight and then goes in and performs like he did. Could you imagine if he was at just another 20% or another 25%? Wow.
Yeah, it's so crazy if you mentioning Brandon. I heard a story. I forget which fight it was. It might have been the one where he fought. Oh man, was it a Dominican fighter in Vegas? And he said that he didn't eat for a whole week. He didn't eat or drink water pretty much for a whole week. And I was just like, how do you even go into a 12-round fight after doing that for a whole week, almost 4 days, 5 days?
I don't recall the fight that you're talking about, but how did he do in the fight?
He won.
Okay, could you imagine? Could you imagine if he had not done that sacrifice? What he could have done in the fight? How much of a better performance he could have done? How much of a better fight he could have fought? How much of a more of a better performer he could have been. I just find
Or
it
how
so hard.
much he
These
could have
guys,
gotten out of himself, right?
yeah, you know what? They killed themselves for 8 weeks or 10 weeks, let's just say, for a training camp, and then in the last week they give it all back. I mean, in my opinion, they give it all back because they're killing themselves trying to make weight, and you're not going to recuperate in one day. I know in the past when the weigh-ins were the same day, that was even more difficult. But now that the weigh-ins, they give them at least 24 hours, still you can't completely recuperate, and it's sad because they could be so much better. What I say about Vergil is how's he gonna get a program going that he's not completely so big that he's killing himself to make 54. Next he'll be saying, I gotta fight at 160 because I'm 6 foot tall. You know,
Mm.
so very few guys today. There's a handful are not doing it correctly. There's a lot of them that are doing it correctly. The Charlos don't look decimated when they're at the scale. Who did we just see that?
Well,
Doggone, who was it?
Munguia for the longest time. I don't know how Jaime Munguia would make 154 and 160 like this. He fainted at one of his weigh-ins. I remember in Tijuana.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
No,
I
I
don't know
didn't
if
know
he
that.
fainted, but
But
like he made weight and then he had to go and lay down and they're like fanning him and like giving him like Gatorade and stuff. Yeah, it was a terrible image to see.
that's the. I guess you asked a little while ago about retirement. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's why I am the type of coach that I was. That my guys, when we left for a fight, we were a kilo overweight, and a week before the fight, instead of having to lose 6, 7 pounds, I remember Gennady going to New York or to London, wherever we went. He'd be a kilo, 3 pounds at the most over his weight. You know, as we're boarding the plane, he'd go to New York, have a steak and potatoes almost every day before the weigh-in. Obviously, not the day before the weigh-in, but he'd eat. And I think that's what's hurting a lot of these guys, Vergil being one of them, is that they sacrifice themselves so much to make the weight that they have no zip. They have nothing. They have nothing fight night. Nothing that makes all the sacrifice leading up to that point worth it. They should be at the top of the game when they step on the scale instead of killing himself. Who was it? Baldomir that almost fainted too when he fought Floyd Mayweather when they walked him up the stairs. He's like they had to help him up the stairs. That's just not right.
Yeah.
It's not physically. It's not healthy for these guys.
But okay, given that they're both, Vergil settles into the weight. When I spoke to him that week, he looked great. He was in great spirits, great energy. Like I don't think he's a guy that really balloons up. In the
What
when
was the
he's
issue
not
before?
fighting.
What was the issue before?
I asked him, and he said that he is just overtraining. It was just overtraining. Like he wasn't, properly recovering, and that he grew. His body grew, and like he just couldn't make the weight anymore.
You know,
I don't know what's going on through your mind, Abel.
yeah, I believe in over sparring.
You believe in
That you
over
can do.
sparring, but not
Yeah.
overtraining.
No, right. Yeah, I believe that
Yeah,
you can over spar.
yeah,
Okay? You
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
put too many rounds in the gym. Okay.
Okay,
Especially if it's good sparring.
yeah.
There's no such thing as overtraining. You know that if the football players and the basketball players and the baseball players didn't train 365 days a year, they wouldn't be working. They wouldn't be playing. They wouldn't be playing. Of course, you don't do the things in the gym that you would do 3 or 4 weeks before the fight, but you're training every day. You're training every day because if you're a damn yo-yo going up and down in weight and going up in training, all you're doing is hurting yourself. That's all you're doing is hurting yourself. So I don't believe in overtraining. I believe in over sparring. Training, there's a lot of things you could be working on while you're training. Doesn't mean
Well,
that
the intensity of training too.
yeah, right. That's what
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
yeah.
There's a lot of things that you can be doing in the gym working. Listen, these guys, none of these guys are perfect in their styles. None of these guys don't have things to learn. All these guys have things to learn. And if you allow a coach to work on things prior to training camp, the 8 weeks of training camp, let's just say, if you allow a coach in the gym to work with these things, you're going to get better. You're going to get better. But if you think that you can, Mike Tyson was at his best when he was fighting every 5 to 6 weeks. He never gave himself a chance to get out of shape. Never gave himself a chance to not be in the gym. So when these guys get out of the gym and they don't come back, but only for those 8 weeks of training camp, everything that they did in the past is gone. They're gonna have to relearn it, not relearn it, repractice it and re-perfect it for those 8 weeks. It's impossible. It's impossible. So when guys say that to me, that they're overtrained, I say what I just said to you. None of the professional football players or basketball players or baseball players would be playing if they weren't training 365 days a year. Whether it's in the weight room, or golfers, whether it's in the weight room, whether it's in the gym, whether it's doing something to can maintain that physical prowess that you're going to need going into training camp.
Well, given that
That's
though,
just me. That's my thought.
yeah. Now, off the top of your head though, who would win that fight between Vergil and Tim?
Right now, it's
Yeah,
a 50-50 fight, like you just
50-55.
said.
Yeah. It's close.
Like you just
it's
said.
so close. It's so close.
But
it's a brutal fight. Brutal
give
fight.
Give Vergil 2 fights. Let him settle into his weight. Let him do it correctly. Vergil is a better fighter. Tim makes too many mistakes, and I think Vergil would, with his power and with his strength at 54, would be able to stop him.
Wow.
But he needs, in my opinion, he needs a couple fights. He needs a couple fights to settle into that weight, to settle into that strength that will be natural for him then.
Yeah, the one thing with Tim though is each fight, I feel like he's making leaps and bounds in terms of improvements. Like each fight, he's getting better and better and better.
Yeah, he's got great genes. The only thing he doesn't have that right hand that his daddy had. That's what's missing. He doesn't have the power that his daddy had. He's got grit, he's got skills, but he doesn't have that equalizer. And I think that's what's going to hurt him against the better guys, the bigger guys.
Well, he has power. Well, yeah, his dad had different
like
power. Yeah. Because Tim right now, let's see how many. He has an impressive KO record right now. But no, I see what you're saying. You know, that one punch.
Two-thirds knockouts, I think.
Box rec. Let's see here. Let's pull it up. 70% knockout. He's 24-0 with 17 KOs.
Yeah, that's what I said. 2/3 knockouts.
Yeah.
People used to say Terry Norris was when I had Terry Norris back in the 90s, people used to say, what a great big puncher he was. He really wasn't. He was a 50% knockout artist. But the way he knocked people out was impressive.
Yeah.
So people thought he was a big puncher. His speed and his perfection with his shots, his pinpoint accuracy with his shots, looked like great power, but he didn't have power. Tsyzu had that equalizer, as Matias does, as Beterbiev does, as Golovkin does. Johnny Tapia had that kind of power. You know, that snappy, quick power that's just like a quick bite, where Tim's just heavy-handed. Munguia's heavy-handed. Canelo's heavy-handed. Not that sledgehammer, Beterbiev kind of punchers. Tim has heavy hands, but not like Vergil. Vergil has snappy, quick knockout power, like Tsyzu did. You know? Chavez didn't have that kind of power. Chavez Senior didn't have that. Chavez just wore you down like Beterbiev does. So it's a different kind of power. But Vergil settling into that weight, I think, will be much more effective with his power.
It remains to be seen, man. But that's one of the fights that I want to see this year. Like I hope they're able to get done. But that's a very good point that you're bringing up, Abel, in terms of letting him settle down first at the weight. And I would imagine, maybe his advisors, maybe even Oscar and all them are saying like, hey, no, wait a second, let's plan this out, get this fight with Benavidez Jr., get more ring time, maybe get another one, and then let's go into the Tim fight, because now you've had 7-8 months to now acclimate fully to 154. This dude's his whole career has been in or around this weight. Like that's actually very smart, Abel. You used to manage, huh? Right?
Yeah, you've been in the gym before where a coach says, well, we're gonna spar. I have a 147 pounder. We're gonna spar with that guy. How much does he weigh? 152. No, he's too heavy. Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. So now if I have a 154 pounder, now we're gonna say, how much does he weigh? 158. Okay, let's go ahead. 156. You're not sparring with 47 pounders or 45 pounders or 40 pounders. You're sparring with bigger guys. So now he's gonna be doing that in the gym. He won't be sparring with the same guys he was sparring with before, or should not be anyway. They should be getting him bigger guys so that he gets used to that kind of muscling.
So then on the flip, if the fight were, say they make the decision, no, we're gonna go to Australia, we're gonna make this is our next fight, and Vergil goes, no, I'm ready, man, I'm ready. Would you favor Tim right now?
No, it's a 50-50.
It's still 50-50.
It's a 50-50.
Because what you said
the
is
power
like,
thing makes a difference.
yeah,
The power
okay.
makes the difference. That will
Yeah.
be the equalizer.
Yeah.
Where if he settles in and has a couple fights, then it's Vergil easy.
Yeah.
Not easy, but Vergil wins the fight. Right now, because of Tsyyu's dominance, let's just say, and his consistency that he's doing right now, I think that he comes into the fight as a champion, and I think that he does a lot of things well against a guy that's not settled in yet. He's still a welterweight. He's still a welterweight.
That's a great fight, man. That fight's gonna take something out of both those guys. That's my only thing is like I look at it from that standpoint and I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Like one of these guys might not be the same after this fight, you know?
You get hurt in the gym. You don't get hurt in the fights. You don't get hurt. You don't take career shortening as much in the fights as you do in the gym.
Unless you're Tim Bradley in the Provodnikov fight. Jeez.
Oh, yeah. Well, Tim had how many of those? One?
Yeah, just one. Yeah.
One.
Just one.
No, it's the gym. It's the oversparring that we're talking about. That's where you take stuff out of. That's where you leave it in the gym. You know, I remember Canelo one time said he sparred 170 rounds for a fight. I don't remember which one it was. Way before us. 170 rounds. 170. You realize that 17 10-round fights? Wow. That is 17 10-round fights. Look at it that way. So that means that you can. So if he does that for, let's just say he spars 120 rounds for every fight. That's 12 10-round fights. And if he fights 10 fights, and he was in a training camp for that long and sparred that many rounds, that means he's going to have the numbers like Shoray Robinson and Willie Pep and all those people that had 200 fights. You know, because he's actually fought those fights. And when you're at that level, you're sparring guys that are good. You're not sparring bums. You're sparring guys to get you ready for a fight. So you're not sparring somebody that's in there just for you to knock them out. You're sparring guys that are there to give you all you can handle. So it's actually a fight. I mean, these guys, yeah, they're using big gloves. Yeah, they have a headgear. They're still hitting each other. So that means that if you sparred 120 rounds per fight, that's 12 10-round fights. With most of the time, 3 fresh guys, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, you know, fresh guys that come in.
Yeah.
That's where the damage is. It's in the gym. It's not in the fights. It ends up happening in the fights because of the gym, in my opinion.
No,
I like to talk to some doctors about that. You know, that'd be interesting to talk to. Next time I have a fight here in California, I'm going to go talk to the commission doctor and find out what their thoughts are. You know, it'd be good to talk to Margaret Goodman too in Vegas because she's a very smart lady when it comes to that.
Yeah. No, it's always great insight from you, Abel. That's for sure. But that is an interesting point though too. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, if there is a correlation with that. Yeah,
I would love to. Next time I go to Vegas, I'm gonna talk to Margaret and see if maybe make an appointment to see her and have some counseling done, just so that we're more aware. You know, so that we're actually talking not out of our butt.
Well, you would adjust your training regimen, training programs. Yeah.
For Golovkin, for his last probably 5 or 6 fights, we didn't spar over 75 rounds. We sparred 3 days a week for 3 weeks, 9 sparring days. Okay, 9 sparring days, and most of the days were 9, 8 rounds, 7 rounds, 6 rounds against 3 different guys. So, and then sometimes on a Friday we would take it off because I was so afraid if something happened. You know, we got an HBO fight and something happens on a Friday. The Friday before the Saturday, 1 week before, something happens, you get a sore hand. Sometimes I would take us. So sometimes you'd only spar 8 days. You know, eight sparring days. Yeah. So he wasn't leaving it in the gym. You know, he was taking it to the fight, and hopefully by the second round he's already into his groove and everything is happening correctly. He's not so much dehydrated, but just not wore out. You know. With that many rounds in the gym, and the guys that you're sparring with are very good fighters anyway, so they're going to give you all you can handle. So,
yeah, that fight's gonna
soapbox.
Yeah,
my soapbox. That's standing on top of a soapbox, trying to say what I think I know. So, yeah, but common sense has to play a big part in this, you know, as a coach.
Well, yeah, that's a fight that for 2024 must happen. That fight and the Benavidez fight. I think like those are my 2 fights. Well, you want I know you want Subriel in these.
Not only that, Gervonta Davis. I want to see Ryan fight. I don't care who he fights. I just want to see Ryan fight. See if he's improving. See if he's getting better. Matias, obviously. I want to see Tyson again. Tyson Fury in there.
Well, he has the Usyk fight.
Somebody. I know. I want to see how he looks in this fight.
Yeah.
Very interested in the Joshua fight to see how Joshua does against the
Ngannou?
kickboxer. Yeah, just
Ah,
to see
well,
if Joshua handles him easily, then was it that
an off night for Fury,
off night for
or
Fury?
yeah,
Who
or
knows?
he's going down. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
But
I, I
there's
hear all
great
that
fights
too.
coming up. There's
Yeah.
great fights coming up. Oh,
Abel
uh,
has some news here. Abel's going to be back in the corner soon.
yeah. I have a young man that I've been working with for about 6 years that I let go when I retired, but he coaxed me back into it. His name is Arsen Gulamarian. He's scheduled. I think the WBA is forcing this fight against Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez
Mm,
sometime at the end of March. So
all
it'll be for the
right.
WBA cruiserweight champion.
Okay, man. Any indication? Is this fight going to be in Saudi or it's going to be here
No, I've heard from friends that it's in Vegas.
in Vegas?
It's not for sure, but I've
Yeah.
heard from friends that it's supposed to be on the same card that it may be in Vegas.
So
We don't
Zurdo
know for sure.
Ramirez made his cruiserweight debut against Joe Smith a few months back. He last fought prior to that against Dimitri Bivol, light heavyweight. Had a fight canceled against Gabe Rosado because he missed the weight by like 7 pounds and he just couldn't make the weight anymore. What do you make of that fight, Abel, with your man and Zurdo?
He's moving up to cruiserweight. My guy is 27-0. Every fight that he's had with me has been a knockout, as most of my guys
Wait,
are.
he's 27-0.
Yeah,
How many knockouts?
yeah, 21 or 22, something like that.
Eesh.
I
Knockout
think
puncher.
Sudo moved up to the number one position after his win. So I think they're ordering mandatory. So if they order it and they able to put it together, my guy's already agreed to everything. He's been talking to Golden Boy. Hopefully Surdo is okay with everything with the Golden Boy too, and they make it. But it's been announced. The WBA will call for a purse bid, I believe, and my guy's already in training camp, so we'll see.
You're back at the summit, training at the summit. Yeah.
We leased it from
Jaime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How's it feel to be back?
We were there already in November and December. He was supposed to fight in France before this fight came about. So it's a little different. I'm home, but it's a little bit different because none of my stuff is there. None of the pictures and the posters and all that. It's a different atmosphere in there, but still, it's the altitude and it's the place where this guy wants to be. This is where he had all his success, and that's where he wants to train.
If the housing market goes down and the value goes down, are you gonna go to Jaime and be like, "Yo, dude, you're losing money on this. Like, let me just buy it back from you"?
I think that Jaime is going to do very well in his career, so he's not going to need to sell that. But I would rather just lease it for the few fights that I may come back and do this again. I don't want to get back into it completely. Of course,
why?
The right, you know what? It's the right offer has to come along, and the right fighter has to come along. I'm a disciplinarian. I'm a kind of coach that likes full commitment because I give you full commitment, and if I can't get that, then it doesn't make sense for me to be. I'm not doing it just for the money. I have to do it because I truly believe that I can win a fight.
So you feel then your man beats Zurdo Ramirez? How does it, to you, in your opinion, how does Zurdo Ramirez look as a cruiserweight against Joe Smith?
He's a big man. He's tall. He's lanky. He's long armed. It's tricky. Southpaw. Those are always a problem. But I think moving up to cruiserweight and finding the second cruiserweight fight for a title, I think is a far reach for him. It's going to be a difficult fight. It's not an easy fight for neither guy, but I think my guy's a natural cruiserweight and will handle Surdo for a decision or a late stoppage, I think.
Oh, wow. You guys stoppage, huh?
Every fight that he's had with me has been a knockout. So
yeah.
And if you go back and look,
interesting.
He beat Riyad Merhi, I think it was for his title, a young man that was 26-0 with 25 knockouts from Belgium, and he trained in Boston. We stopped him in the 10th or 11th round. A great fight if you watch it on YouTube. And then he's had a good run of wins, of knockout wins for his defenses. So the COVID kind of put him on a shelf because I think it put everybody on a shelf. But he's hungry. He's willing to be here away from his family. He's training hard, and hopefully the 30th is the date.
Like we had been discussing this weekend, Jaime Munguia taking on John Ryder on the zone in Arizona. And then the week after that, Teofimo Lopez returning to the ring against Jermaine Ortiz, as well as the return of Conor Benn as well, February 3rd and February 8th. We'll be with you guys next week to go and preview those fights with myself and Abel Sanchez. Abel, as always, thank you for chatting. Appreciate the time. One more thing, huh?
One more thing.
Yeah.
Who have they decided who the fight of the year is yet?
That? Yeah, a lot of people gave it to Inoue.
I think
what is that response?
No, we said that this last time.
It's Inoue. It's
what he's done is just
yeah. Oh, I thought you were in disagreement. Man. I was like, wait, what?
No. I just hope
we talked about this, Abel.
Yeah, I just hope that maybe we can see him here in the States. You know, we have some guys in his weight division, and we see him here more in the States in prime time. To get
the next fight. This next fight is gonna be Japan against Neri in May. But then maybe after that we'll see him. But there's not a lot of big names at 122. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah. What's unfortunate is we got to wrap up.
Yeah. I gotta go do some work in my garage. So.
All right, that's it for myself and for Abel Sanchez. This is Marcos Villegas. Thank you guys for watching, and tune in next week as we preview the return of Teofimo Lopez as well as the return of Conor Benn. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it, guys.